Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You're watching News 2. I'm April Knight. Topping our stories tonight, if you've been to the airports recently, the question of fixing the airports has to have crossed your mind. There was a big announcement made today awarding $27 million in grants dedicated to improvements at both the St. Thomas and the St. Croix airports. News 2's James Gardner was there and has this story.
The United States Commerce Department's Economic Development Administration announced on Wednesday that it will be awarding $27 million in grants to the Virgin Islands Port Authority on St. Thomas to expand and improve the airports in the wake of Hurricane Irma and Maria. At a press conference that took place at the University of the Virgin Islands and St. Thomas, Deputy Assistant Secretary to the U.S. Department of Commerce, Dennis Alford, broke down where the money is going and how much jobs will be created. First, a $20 million investment from the EDA to VIPA to help construct a parking and transportation center at the Cyril E. King International Airport. The project is being undertaken to improve transit access and operational capabilities to minimize time required for transportation of people, goods, and services. The project is expected to retain 139 jobs, create 166 jobs, and generate $5 million in private investment. Second, a $7 million investment in VIPA to renovate and expand 6,500 square feet inside the Henry E. Rosen Airport. This project is expected to improve the facility's ability to withstand powerful tropical weather and help the economy by restoring tourism and providing export opportunities. This project is expected to retain 40 jobs, create 42 jobs, and generate $1.1 million in private investment. These two investments are being funded by the FY18 Disaster Supplemental Funding for activities in areas affected by major disasters as a result of Hurricane Harvey, Irma, Maria, and wildfires and other 27 natural disasters.
This opportunity has made $587 million available to eligible grantees where a presidential declaration of a major disaster was issued in the wake of Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria, that year's wildfires in the West, as well as other natural disasters in 2017. At EDA, we have a long history of successfully supporting disaster recovery and resiliency efforts. Our role in disaster recovery is to facilitate the timely and effective delivery of federal economic development assistance to support long-term community recovery planning and project implementation, redevelopment, and resiliency for those communities.
For News 2, this is James Gardner.
Meanwhile, in Washington, Delegate to Congress Stacey Plaskett held a press conference along with other members of Congress. Their goal is to get their colleagues on board legislation that would get territories treated equally when it comes to health care coverage under the Medicaid program. The Virgin Islands currently has a Medicaid cap, meaning the territory can only gets 55% in reimbursements from the federal government for health care for Medicaid-eligible patients. The Virgin Islands government has to shoulder the remaining 45% of that. Now, after the hurricanes, the VI did get a Medicaid match waiver, which meant that the federal government has been paying 100%, but that waiver is set to expire in September 2019. Delegate Plaskett is leading the effort to push legislation that would take the cap out for U.S. territories. She's also working to extend the waiver beyond September 2019. Here's more from that press conference.
After the storms, with increased demand combined with the collapse of revenue, the Virgin Islands was not able to produce the required 45% of each federal Medicaid dollar. Even the supplemental allotment provided with 100% federal funding will not be enough to get us through our recovery, and an extension of the matching fund waiver will be necessary, along with access to additional Medicaid funding beyond the fiscal cliff. I've been working since I started Congress to address the fundamental problem, which is that the territories are forced to operate Medicaid under statutory caps. The caps are antithetical to the purpose of the program, to be able to expand and contract based on local need. I have sponsored legislation, joined with my colleagues from the territories and other colleagues here in Congress, to correct the inequities we face under Medicaid, in part by lifting the Medicaid caps and by providing for fair inclusion of the territories in Medicaid. I have recently reintroduced this legislation this session, H.R. 1354, the Territories Health Equity Act, of 2019. The territories also face inequities regarding Medicare. For example, the hospital in the Virgin Islands are compensated under Part A through a system using out-of-date reimbursement formulas. Payments to the two hospitals are based on 1982 and 1996 costs, respectively, annually adjusted for inflation up to the rate of increase ceiling. Due to the large permanent changes in Medicaid services provided, the cost of care at both hospitals is not comparable to the inflation-adjusted expenses of their base year. The territory's health equity legislation would also address the low hospital payments under Part A. It also would provide the small territories access to Medicaid DSH and improve the treatment of the territories under Medicare Part D low-income subsidy programs. We must confront the difficult reality that these territories and our U.S. citizen residents have been neglected and allowed to fall behind.
Meanwhile, the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority also recently made some announcements on some $800 million worth of disaster recovery-related funding. According to HFA, Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, approved an amendment made to the plan for how the $800 million is going to be spent. A portion of the amount will now be used to address unmet long-term recovery needs, including giving assistance to homeowners that are still rebuilding in the aftermath of the hurricanes. According to HFA Executive Director Daryl Griffith, the new funding addresses a broad scope of recovery work, including supporting public and affordable housing development, assisting with new homeowner programs, fortifying and enhancing the electrical grid, as well as improvements to seaports and airports. This brings the territory to a total of allocations from HUD to date of about $1 billion. Coming up next, looking back in Virgin Islands history for VI History Month, plus tuition relief for some Eastern Caribbean students going to UVI when we come back. Welcome back. The House of Representatives Transportation and Infrastructure Committee recently announced a $59 million grant from FEMA that would go toward repairing buildings in the Virgin Islands as a result of the damage from the hurricanes. We learn about this through the office of Delegate Stacey Plaskett. The grant, according to the delegate, is for VI Housing Authority on St. Thomas to make repairs to 5 buildings. Delegate Plaskett stated that the grant is important for ongoing rebuilding efforts after 2 devastating hurricanes. She also said the U.S. government and the international community have to work with affected local governments to restore infrastructure, provide critical humanitarian assistance, and help in the recovery of the disaster-stricken territory. Meanwhile, if you have vehicles parked near the St. Thomas Airport or the Bournefield area, which is the property of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, you have until March 18th to come and get them. The Port Authority and St. Thomas Water Island Administrator Avery Lewis are cracking down on abandoned vehicles that are parked on Port Authority property. That includes the airport's general aviation parking lot next to the University of the Virgin Islands and the Bournefield community area. Vehicles scheduled for removal will be tagged with a notice prior to removal, and Port Authority will also be hand-delivering notices about the upcoming deadline to remove the vehicles. And if your vehicle is removed and it's registered to you, you will pay the fees for its removal and disposal. For more information, you can call VIPA's Property Management Office. That number is 774-2132, or email info@viport.com. Well, for years, the international students studying at the University of the Virgin Islands have been paying up to 3 times the rate that residents pay for undergraduate and graduate classes. Over the weekend, the UVI Board of Trustees made an announcement that would bring some relief to students from some countries in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, or OECS. The Memorandum of Agreement signed by UVI applies to students from the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, and Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, and Dominica. So instead of paying 3 times the resident rate, students from these Caribbean nations will now pay 1.75 times. The memorandum of agreement is for the next 10 years. In a statement, UVI President David Hall said it's an effort to attract students who are getting better offers from U.S. mainland schools and Europe schools as well. The territory is observing Virgin Islands History Month. In issued statements, Governor Albert Bryan encouraged parents, educators, and culture bearers to continue their efforts to educate the new generation of VI history and culture. And one cultural bearer is doing just that. It has been a struggle, however, to get young people interested. Stephanie Brown has more.
Scratch pan musician and masquerade tradition bearer Asta Williams has been upholding the masquerading traditions in a territory for decades. Traditionally, many African cultures believe that masqueraders embodied spirits that both bless, protect, and warn villages. Although important, masquerading has become unpopular, and Asta Williams shares her experiences in an attempt to hold on to pieces of her cultural identity.
I went so far as to make some masks with the girls at the complex health, beautiful masks. But that year I was kind of under the weather. I'm sitting down, get the clothes made and everything. The children didn't show. I was so forlorn and disappointed that after all the work, some teachers and I sat there. The children did the mask, they didn't want that. They went in another troop where they have, little nothings. They rather that, you can force people to do what they don't want to do. So that's where it ends. They have to want to do it. The parents have to instill in them that even though you might like that, this is your culture. This is what my grandparents, and this culture is not here alone with the masquerade. It's all over. Black people, even in Puerto Rico, masqueraders and macajumbis are the same, except it's from the African village, and that's our heritage and custom that the people from Africa cover themselves fully at the way mask, because we cover sickness or chase away sickness. You don't hear too much about the masqueraders, but the mokojumbis you hear a lot of, but we just as important, because we in the villages also protecting the villagers from sickness and that evil spirits don't come around. Same thing, except we are on the ground and we protect the villages. Okay, so I guess I'm protecting Project Said Village.
Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
Here's a look at the current satellite. Good evening. We'll continue to stay very dry here across the Virgin Islands for the next several days. The satellite trying to indicate some clouds, and that's going to be our best chance for moisture if we see any, and that will bring the chance for some very spotty showers, but overall a pretty dry forecast in the makings. Here's a look at your water vapor. Now you notice that bright red and orange as well as yellow. That indicates dry air, and that's what's in our area. Blues is where we have a better chance for some moisture, and really not seen on this your water vapor satellite loop here. So dry conditions continue to really dominate much of Puerto Rico as well as the Virgin Islands in towards the leewards, even back into Hispaniola, and that's going to continue to be the case here at home for tonight as well as into your Thursday. Looking at a low of 74, partly cloudy skies as we head into tomorrow. Pleasant day in St. John with a high of 83. Look at that great fishing beach weather if you want to go take a hike or a run. Anything outdoors is going to be looking great in St. Thomas as well with a high of 83. Warming up to 86 in St. Croix. Once again, lots of sunshine in this dry pattern even as we continue into this weekend. Now, for your marine forecast, we do have a small craft use caution for the Atlantic side, 3 to 5 feet, winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots. Also going to see waves in that same realm for the Caribbean side, running 3 to 5 feet, winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots. At this point in time, we do not have a small craft use caution or any advisories, and we don't plan to see any big changes in the marine forecast, at least for the next 24 hours. Now, for your Friday, a high of 83, low of 73 with a stray shower, a bit more cloud cover as you head into your Saturday as well as Sunday with those quick moving showers coming about. This is going to be our best chance for moisture. No upper level moisture to bring any heavy downpours, just spotty low level moisture bringing the clouds and trade showers for your Monday, returning to mainly sunny conditions.
Thank you for that. When we come back, Randall's news and comments with Alexander Randall. Plus, Gary Anthony caught up with some martial artists on St. Croix. All that when we come back.
You're watching News 2. This is Alex Randall with News and Comment. First up, hearty congratulations to Lieutenant Ranaqua Russell of the United States Coast Guard. She's a pilot, and she's the first African-American female aviator to receive the Coast Guard's Air Medal. She won the award after flying relief supplies after Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and she's a hero. Flying through the rain bands of Hurricane Harvey, flying through tropical storm force winds, landing on flooded runways, delivering critical supplies. And then in St. Croix, for Irma and Maria, she flew evacuations and supplies for St. Croix. Now here's the irony. They conferred the award on her at the airfield in Tuskegee, Alabama, where the famous Tuskegee Airmen took their training. And one of those Tuskegee Airmen was her great uncle, Henry Rolson. And you know St. Croix's airport is named for him. The libraries are closed. In case you tried to go to the library, don't bother. They're closed. Florence Williams Public Library in Christiansted, closed. Enid Baugh Public Library St. Thomas, closed. Elaine Sproul Library in St. John, reduced hours. And the Charles Turnbull Library in St. Thomas, limited hours, mostly closed. And to compound the problem, the department's having trouble finding librarians willing to work for the limited pay. The Department of Planning and Natural Resources said the same problem is happening over at their Environmental Enforcement Division. They don't pay enough. Are they really leaving? Are recoveries like hitting a wall? Contractors say they're not being paid, and they're leaving. Officials from Housing Authority briefed senators saying that some contractors are struggling because they're not being paid. Some 8,000 homes in the Virgin Islands are lined up for home repair, and the master contractor AECOM says it can only pay subcontractors when they get their money from the federal government. If the federal government's dragging its feet, then our local contractors may stop working. And it's not just us. It's happening in a lot of places that have disaster management issues. Here comes a new Lucinda Millen home. The Housing Authority has big plans for a new Lucinda Millen home. Executive Director Robert Graham told senators the building's old, it's small, it was built with cheap and inadequate materials, inadequate amenities. There's no medical care facility. The Housing Authority is proposing a 40-unit senior home over at Oswald Harris Court, and then a second 40-unit place, also at Oswald Harris Court, with a $40 million proposed budget. But the plans are bigger than that. They have plans to demolish 1,555 old units and other housing projects and build all new ones. Huge, huge plans. University of the Virgin Islands has plans now, coming on the heels of the decision to offer free tuition to all UVI Virgin Island students. Here comes the university dropping the tuition fees to students from our neighboring islands. For the next 10 years, students will get lower tuition if they come from these colleges: British Virgin Islands H. Levity Stout Community College, Anguilla's Community College, Antigua State College, Antigua Barbuda International Institute of Technology, and the Dominica State College. In the past, Local students paid about $2,300 a year, and students from other islands paid around $7,000 a year. That's 3 times the local rate. But with the new arrangement, students from other islands will pay around $4,000 a year. That is a bargain and should attract more students from our neighboring islands. Thanks for watching. This is Alex Randall with News and Comment. Now, back to April.
Thank you for that, Alex. Next up, Gary Anthony had some pretty interesting interactions with martial artists on St. Croix. Let's see what that's about.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News2 Sports. I'm over here at News2 Dojo, where they are helping to celebrate Martial Arts Week. Yes, Martial Arts Week. Earlier today, I got to witness some great Tai Chi. Right now, they've just finished up doing some self-defense. Let's find out a little bit more about Martial Arts Week and some of the wonderful martial arts that are available. As part of Martial Arts Celebration Week, Professor Chris Bashaw taught a Tai Chi workshop on Cane Bay Beach early Tuesday morning.
Tai Chi is a martial art that came out of China. Tai Chi itself means grand ultimate, versus Tai Chi Yuan, which is the martial application of it, which means grand ultimate fist, meaning it's the highest elevation of martial arts that you could possibly study in China.
There are many benefits to learning Tai Chi.
It's a very slow-moving martial art initially. It teaches us muscle memory. It works from a health perspective on balance. It improves memory. It improves the immune system. It has been widely studied with clinical studies through medicine to prove all the health benefits. Lowers your blood pressure, decreases pain of the joints. It's really a phenomenal exercise, let alone a phenomenal martial art if you study that aspect of it. Anybody can do this, all ages, all abilities. I've taught people right up into their 80s with this, and they've done well with it.
Later that day, Chris taught a self-defense workshop at the News2 Dojo.
My idea of self-defense is what's practical out on the street. No fancy katas, no fancy punches, just what's really practical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here to the brachial plexus. This hand here supports. And how does that feel? You hit the nerve of the brachial plexus and the hand's doing this.
There are additional seminars and events throughout the week.
It ends with a culmination on Saturday of a barbecue in celebration of News2 Dojo's founder, Professor Richard Bell. It doesn't matter if you've never studied the martial arts before, you can come to the seminars. If you've studied martial arts or you're studying in another school and just want to come try something different, anybody can come. There's no cost to the workshops. You just come on in and you know, either wear your martial arts uniform if you have one, or just loose comfortable clothes, and we'll work with you.
That's it for sports. April, back to you.
Thank you for that, Gary. And that's it for our show tonight. Make sure you tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Via Channel 4 and 504. Follow us on Facebook at News2VI or Instagram at TV2USVI. Tag us on any stories you want to see on the news or send us a message on Messenger. You can also email us at newsdirector@tv2.vi. Thanks again for joining us on News 2. I'm April Knight. We'll see you next time.